tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote na tujibidishe kutoa kilicho bora kwa Afrika, chimbuko la wanadamu, chemchemi ya utamaduni, tumaini letu wakati wa mafarakano. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima.
Let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us make Africa the tree of life. That is our thematic song that introduces some of our Africa-oriented shows here on Humanist TV Africa. My name is Kato Mukasa, and of course in the studio is my colleague Dennis Bongole. We are directors of Humanist TV Africa. Humanist TV Africa is a registered non-government organization registered to do media work. We are registered to do media work, and we are broadcasting live from different studios in the world. And we want to encourage you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and of course our TikTok account is Humanist TV Africa. We have studios in Uganda, we have studios in Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe, we have studios in Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, UK, and in the USA. We still broadcast wherever you are, and we're still opening up more studios to be able to reach out to you. We want to encourage you to please write us. Our email is info@humanisttvafrica.com. Our email is info@humanisttvafrica.com. Also, our website is right there, www.humanisttvafrica.com. Now, having said that, today we are going to be looking at country profiling. We are looking at South Africa. Why do we look at South Africa? It is an African country, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. It's a country with 90% of the world's platinum comes from South Africa. And of course, it has a very beautiful flag. South Africa is one of the countries in Africa with a bigger majority of Caucasian population that have been there since the 15th century. They've been right there. Now, South Africa was initially known as the Union of South Africa. It was created on May 31st, 1910, and it became a sovereign state within the British Empire in 1934. It became a republic on May 31st, 1961. It left the Commonwealth in October 1968. Why did it leave the Commonwealth? Because of apartheid. Remember, there was a lot of apartheid in South Africa. It's a non-racial democratic constitution came into effect on April 27th, April 1994. And of course, it joined back the Commonwealth in May 1994, when Nelson Mandela took over. Remember, this is a country where we have seen the worst segregation, the worst racism. This is one country where I've seen the worst of the worst, where Caucasians have treated Africans or Black Africans as beasts of burden. So it has a very dark history right there. Now, the 11 most prominent cultures in Africa, in South Africa, are Afrikaners, which is more or less the Dutch version of Afrikaner, the English, the Ndebele, the Xhosa, and the Zulu, the Pedi, the Sotho, the Swana, Swazi, Venda, and Songa. Most prominent cultures, and of course, most prominent languages right in South Africa, right there. And of course, in 2022, it was expected that 81% of the people in South Africa are black-skinned, and of course, 7% of the people in South Africa are Caucasian, and of course, 8% of these people in South Africa are colored, and of course, 2.7, roughly 3%, are Indian South Africans. And so in brief, South Africa has Caucasian South Africans, Black South Africans, and of course, it has colored South Africans as a result of intermarriages. We have the Mulattoes, the colored South Africans, and of course, we have the Indian South Africans. So this one makes South Africa a very unique country because it has all the people right inside there, and they've been here for a long time. So they are part and parcel of South Africa. These are South Africans. We can call them Caucasians, Asians, Black, but all of them are South Africans. Now, languages are Afrikaner, English, Ndebele, Pedi, Xhosa, Swazi, Songa, Swana, Venda, Xhosa, Zulu, and of course, these are the official languages. The religions in South Africa are predominantly Christian. It's a Christian nation. And of course, South Africa is also known for its traditional African religion. There are so many Sangomas in South Africa, if you want to ask me, because they have the Hindu, Muslim, Jewish population right there in South Africa. There are about 60 million people in South Africa, of course, with 9 provinces and much more. Now, that is South Africa. You can see one of the most beautiful maps in the world. Dennis, give me a minute there. I'll explain a bit about South Africa right here. Now, South Africa was initially known as the Union of South Africa, and of course, it is the 25th largest country in the world, with, of course, 471.445 square miles. It's quite big, 11 official languages, and of course, South Africa has a history of colonial rule, but of course, it stretches back from, if you ask me, from about the 1500s, 15,000 there, around there, and of course, we see it effectively. From 1552, when people from Netherlands took over South Africa, and of course, they were in control between 1652 to 1795, and of course, they were again back in control from 1803 to 1806. We're going to ask me what happened in between. In between, the British took over from the Dutch, call them the Afrikaners. The British took over from the Dutch between 1795 and to 1803. It was the British rule now. They took over from the Dutch, defeated the Dutch, and the British ruled. But again, the Dutch came back and took over control. That explains why the Dutch from 1803 to 1806 had taken over the same territory we now call South Africa. And of course, the British again took it over from 1806 to 1961. Again, the British took over the same territory. It became their colony. And until then, until 1961, the British gave this colony to the Dutch, if I may say. And of course, the Dutch ruled it until 1994. In between, it was known as the Union of South Africa. But remember that the Union of white people You call them white people, I call them Caucasians. That union government came in power in 1910. 1910. But again, it was still regarded as a British colony until 1961. Remember, from 1961, the Dutch or the Afrikaners took over and ruled that country under an iron fist, apartheid, until 1994. Then let us look at other maps now, having had that history of South Africa. Now, South Africa is quite big, as I've told you. It has 471,000 square miles. That is South Africa. You can see the boundaries, the neighbors there, and of course, what makes it unique, the water body that surrounds it. Of course, Namibia, Botswana up there, Swaziland there. Lesotho is one of those countries within a country, if you may ask me. Lesotho, one of the countries within countries. It is a country, call it a kingdom. We call it the Kingdom of Lesotho or Lesotho. It is within South Africa still, but this kingdom is nestled in the Drakensberg Mountains. It's also known as the Kingdom of Heaven. It's the only country in the world above 1,000 meters above sea level, the Kingdom of Lesotho. But it's within South Africa right there. Now, then let us have a look at other maps. That's South Africa on the African scale. That is South Africa on the African scale. When you look at it, you're going to see that Madagascar is quite far. Of course, you see that the immediate neighbors are Botswana, of course, Swaziland, Lesotho is within, and of course, South Africa is within. Of course, South Africa, as you can see, that orange patch of South Africa. Now, who controls what in South Africa? Private section title of land. Ownership of land remains a big question in South Africa. Look at how it is owned. The Caucasians own 47.6%. They own at least 48% of titled land in South Africa. But remember, how many are they? They are only 7%. Now, if you have 7% of your population owning 48% of the land, do you think that is equality? Do you think that is fair? You have 7% of the Caucasians owning 48% of titled land in South Africa. Now, the blacks own only 18.5%. But remember, there are over 80% black people in South Africa, but they own only 18.5% of the land. Now, we have Indians. Indians own 5.2% of the land. Now, the other land, 6.5%, is co-owned. It's co-owned. People from different backgrounds own that land. Now, you can imagine the colored people. Remember, colored people are the product between Caucasians, Indians, and black. They own 22%. Even colored people own more land than black South Africans. Now, this is not fair at all. And this is the genesis of the problems in South Africa. South Africa has one of the highest crime rates in the world. South Africa has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world. Why? Look at the land distribution. Factors of production are owned by a few people and they control the majority. The question is, did South Africa get true independence? The answer is not very certain. Most people don't feel this independence. It explains why there's a lot of violence in South Africa. There's a lot of xenophobia in South Africa. Let us look at other images then. Thank you so much. That was very, very elaborative. Now, remember this, South Africa has some of the best minerals in the world. I've told you, they have a platinum. 90% of platinum in the world comes from South Africa. But they also have gold. The first gold to be found in South Africa was discovered in 1867, including diamonds. They have been mining diamonds and gold from 1800s. Now, where do these resources go? Who owns these companies? Let us research and find out. You are going to be surprised that these companies are owned by people, many of them in Europe and many of them in the USA. Now, but look at the resources of South Africa: iron, lead, copper, chrome, diamonds, platinum, gold, coal, phosphor, vitamin, uranium, coal, and zinc, vanadium, titan, nickel, manganese, and all these minerals, all of them in South Africa. But remember, unemployment rate, South Africa has the worst unemployment rate in Africa and in the world. It is ranked among the top 5 worst countries with unemployment. But the resources are vast. The country is rich. The country has a tourist destination that favors so many people, but people remain so much poor. Now, this map still shows you where the wealth of South Africa is, the diamonds, where they are can be found, the territories where you can find all this diamond, gold, and all this. These things are right in South Africa. Let us look at other important aspects of South Africa. And of course, we said it has the largest resources of platinum. I'll explain to that. But 87% of platinum in the world comes from South Africa. Manganese, 80% of world's manganese comes from South Africa. 72% of world's chromium comes from South Africa. Gold, we are saying at least 29% of world's gold comes from South Africa. Armenian and others account for 40% of global production of ferrochrome, platinum group metals, and vanadium. Now, South Africa is so much endowed with precious minerals, rocks, and all these things are right there in South Africa, some of them in their early stages of fraction, they call it crystallization, and are being formed to be utilized by the people of South Africa. Let us look at other images. Dennis, very, very fast. Now, these are minerals. I've talked about the minerals in South Africa. You can have a look at them. You can have a look at who neighbors South Africa. Of course, the Indian Ocean right there, and the Atlantic Ocean right there. And these water bodies help South Africa to be a tourist destination. Botswana, Namibia, Mozambique, these are neighbors of South Africa. Let us look at other maps then, very, very fast. People of South Africa, I told you they have so many tribes, but the Zulu stand out. The Zulu and their tradition stand out. Of course, the Zulu, the Ndebele, the Ngoni, and all these are some of the tribes we find in South Africa. There are quite many. The Xhosa are quite many there in South Africa. They have very beautiful women, of course, and they dress very majestically. And of course, we have the San and we have the Khoikhoi. Some of these are genetically identified people, the human race. Some of the most old known human race can be traced in South Africa. The Khoikhoi, the San, and others right there. South Africans are very happy people. I love their music. I love South African music. They have the best dances you can think about. I should repeat this. South Africans have the best dances, best moves. They can sing even during a funeral. And they have the best foods. Talk about food, you get most of the foods you think about in South Africa. They have the best huts, very good huts, traditional huts. They are good builders. The environment is so good in South Africa, I should tell you. The environment is very, very good. South Africa, of course, has the scenery. South Africa also has the best winery in Africa, and of course, some of the best winery in the world. They have 560 wineries and 4,400 wine producers in South Africa. Then please give us more images. Give us more images. The sceneries are very good there. If you ask me, South Africa has about 3 capital cities. If you ask me, Pretoria is the executive capital. We have Cape Town as the district, the legislative capital, and of course we have the Bloemfontein as the judicial capital. So if you want to have the judicial cases handled at the final stage, you go to Bloemfontein. If you want to have the executive powers EIU, you go to Pretoria, and of course Cape Town remains the legislative capital. It's a very big country, very lovely country, have the best sceneries. Look at the villages in South Africa. Some of these villages in South Africa, of course, you go to Cape Town, you go to these other places like Brokeners Bridge and others, you see that it is a very lovely place to visit South Africa. South Africa has some of the world's highest commercial jump. The world's highest commercial jump. The roads are so good. They jump at 709 feet, which is about 216 meters high. That jump is at Brokeners Bridge at the Bonge, which is above the Brokeners River on the eastern border of Eastern Cape and Western Cape. That is one of the things that is known for South Africa. The beautiful, beautiful water bodies right there, the beautiful mountains, of course, hilly places, the beautiful rocks there. And of course, we talk about all this in the 9 provinces of South Africa. And each province, of course, has its own capital in a way. South Africa has Table Mountain. Table Mountain is found in Cape Town. And Table Mountain is one of the oldest mountains in the world. It emits magnetic electronic energy and others. It has a very beautiful rocky mountain. The environment is good. The sun sets well in South Africa, and the people are joyous despite the poverty challenges in South Africa, the unemployment. It remains a country with some of the most beautiful resort areas. You go there and chill quietly and have fun. South Africa has animals that you may not find elsewhere in the world. It has cheetahs, it has giraffes, it has ostriches. By the way, South Africa also has sharks in the waters. And it has all these other animals we find in Africa, the cheetahs, the leopards, the lions, the chimpanzees. They are all in South Africa in a way. The elephants, you will find them in South Africa, the giraffes. It has all these in South Africa. Of course, you go there, see the cheetahs, see the elephants, see the lions, and the beautiful, beautiful weather right in South Africa. I told you that the Kingdom of Lesotho is also part of South Africa. Now, this man, Nelson Mandela, is a man given a credit for going to prison for 27 years. This man was in prison for 27 years and was released, and then formed government, of course, after a lot of negotiation with the president then, de Klerk. They made a new constitution in 1991 and they repealed apartheid. They repealed apartheid in 1991, and of course, I became the president in 1994 and ruled for only one term, trying to create a new South Africa where they agreed to end racism, to end apartheid, and take back the country to the majority population. And that's how ANC, the African National Congress, took over power from de Klerk and company. And of course, the Afrikaners took a back seat. And then the Black South Africans came to the forefront to lead the country. The question is, did they change so much? The answer to me is not so much has changed in South Africa. Land remains a priority. It remains something to do with control of resources, and the minorities have the highest piece of productive land. Thank you so much. Minorities in South Africa, Caucasians, Indians, and of course, the Mulattoes own much land than 80% of the Black people in South Africa. Now, to me, this is the biggest challenge in South Africa. You have land, which is productive land, titled land, And the majority of black people don't own this land. The minority own this land. Now, when you own land in Africa, you own the means of production. You own the minerals. You own the resources. It means that the majority black people in South Africa are unemployed intentionally because of the racial segregation policies that were put in South Africa for so many years. Up to now, I still insist South Africa needs to readjust a few things. I don't think that the government led by the black people in South Africa is doing much to change the trajectory of the people in South Africa. They remain very poor. Unemployment in South Africa is so high, above 40%, and it remains the worst unemployment rate in Africa. Poverty is high, crime rate is high. Why? The resources are not yet fully shared between black people and non-black people. This should be addressed. And here at Human TV Africa, we want such kind of injustices to be addressed. If you want to get peace, lasting peace in South Africa, find a solution to provide employment to the black population. Provide them with practical education to the black population. It's the only way you're going to be able to forge peace, lasting peace in South Africa. Thank you so much for watching. It is Human TV Africa. And of course, this is Country Profile, where I bring you a bit of a dose about each countries in South Africa, in Africa. And we want to encourage you to please subscribe to our channel and be able to watch all other episodes in our list. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.
Tuungane sote na tushereke pamoja ushindi kwa ukombozi wetu. Tujitoe wenyewe, tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi Bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote na tujibidishe kutoa kilicho bora kwa Afrika. Chimbuko la wanadamu, chemchemi ya